Hey, welcome back to TwoSun Tuesday. And I have kind of a classic one here. This is the TS195 Silverback. As we can see, this is a Mazwan Mokhtar design. This one's been around for a while, and they've started doing some more recent runs of them. So I had this one is fairly new. It's not, kind of one of the older versions of it. That being said, there's not really a whole bunch of differences between it. This is the frag pattern version of it. I think they call it the dash square model, I guess, because these are squares or whatever. But they also have a smooth variant of it and a wave pattern, which just has those little ringlet mills going on in there. This thing has a crazy fuller on it, which a lot of people mention is quite sharp, and yeah, it is. It'll really grab you. I don't think it'll really cut you unless you're really doing something crazy, but it is a bit sharper than you would expect from a lot of other stuff. Opening this guy up, and we have Kerpow, a crazy kind of Wharncliffe look. Also, basically, kind of looks like a sax or seax, which is basically what you get when you had a sword or a longer dagger or something like that got damaged, and then they ended up fixing it up into something that could still be used as a tool. So there you go with that. Yes, if I hadn't mentioned it earlier or you weren't familiar, this is a titanium integral knife. So a little bit different construction on this guy here. And this guy is not lightweight. And the reason for that is pretty easy when you can see that we have several millimeters thick worth of titanium going on in the back, especially the back end there. So this thing is fairly substantial. Still, you can basically get all four fingers on here. Nice to have that little kind of slanted area up top there. It's got a finger choil on it. It's a standard Mazwan sized finger choil, so not applicable for me. But if you got some normal to smaller mitts, you might be able to comfortably choke up on that a little bit. This is an integral, so M390 blade steel. I haven't seen them do anything else for an integral knife. Maybe there was a couple in S90V, but I really don't think so. I think all of them have been M390. Well, there we go. We have their titanium pivot collars here, and not ones that are all sorts of labeled. However, this is a newer one, so you are going to get the Mazwan logo and the TwoSun logo on the blade, as well as, of course, the model number. Whereas I think in the original ones or something like that, well, in general, they would be put on the inside on some older Mazwan designs. But this is an integral knife, so it's kind of hard to get a laser all up in there. So maybe that is just a little bit similar to the older ones rather than whatever else I might have been thinking about. But yeah, this has the standard Mazwan ballpoint pocket clip. It's really stiff. This is another one of those pant droppers, unless you are really prepared to shove that into your pants with some vigor and or have a reasonable suspension out there. Of course, it's an integral. It would be interesting to have that lock bar cut on the inside, but that would be very, very difficult. Not impossible. They could essentially have it here and mill in from the top, but I certainly don't blame them for any of that sort of stuff. And besides, the pocket clip really covers that up, so you don't really feel that in your hand. This thing might not have the absolute longest crazy blade out there, but still works out super well. This is a 3.21-inch blade, 81.4 millimeters, but usually that's a little bit small for me, but this ends up working well in my hands. So, hooray for that. We have some nice lock bar access here. It's not just fully flat there, so that's nice. Of course, we have the hardened steel insert done on the inside here. And this is a flipper as well as a front flipper. The front flipper works pretty darn well. You do have to give it just a little bit of extra inertia here because this thing doesn't have the most drop shutty action. It has a bit of extra friction going on the that detent thing there. And this back flipper works great, but you really need to get your finger out of the way. Otherwise, yeah, the blade will basically stop and hit your finger. So you must light switch this thing. You can't really push button it. So, keep that in mind if it's a knife that you end up wanting to pick up. That whole clip thing from the seax style sort of thing works out really well if you really want to get your index finger up there. Your mileage may vary on that, of course. It really depends on how long your fingers are and all that sort of stuff. But that really makes it easy for me to treat this a little bit more like a utility blade if I so choose to do. It is nice to see that the blade stock thickness on this is a little bit less than their standard. It's 3¼ millimeters, or 3.25. So a little bit thinner than some of the other ones. It does look fairly thick up top here, and it is basically a saber grind. You got the flats right before that fuller up there, but still ends up working out really, really well. If you are looking for a kind of a more upscale Wharncliffe style knife, then that ends up working out quite well. I did mention the weight earlier, and that this thing isn't super crazy light. It's 4.51 ounces, or 128 grams, and a lot of that really has to do with just the amount of titanium left in that billet that they milled out, especially in the back portions of it. But really makes this thing feel like a weighty quality piece. Something that I have run into now with the integrals from TwoSun is the way that they end up doing them a bit is it might be a little bit more difficult to see on this one, but you can see we have more of a gap here on this side than we do on this side, and that also kind of translates a bit into the fact that a lot of times they won't be fully centered there, and it's just kind of the strange way that they end up with the whole mounting mechanism going on here. This one's a little bit more difficult to deal with than some others, but still. It is a bit of a sway back kind of thing, so super nice and comfortable if you do want to get that in a reverse grip. It's a little bit too small for me to really want to use this as a kind of a tactical sort of thing. But if you really did want to stab this into something, then there you go. But it does have just a little tiny bit of a flat portion there, so the tip is a little bit reinforced, which helps, but does kind of take that piercing down just a little tiny bit. That's all right with me. So yeah, like I had mentioned, this one doesn't have super great action, and basically nothing I've done has really improved that. I do think I could probably take a little bit of the tension off of the lock bar there, but that might also kind of affect a little bit of the, not the front flipper, but the detent if you want to use the back flipper on there, which is most likely what it's tuned for, which is why it might be just a little too tight for trying to put it on down. But yeah, this thing is a fairly famous knife from TwoSun. A lot of people have talked about this, especially because it's an incredibly affordable, fully integral knife, and TwoSun's been making it for quite a few years now. I'm glad that they've made a new batch of them. And I got this one for a decent price. Actually got it off of eBay. So, hey, I got it for under $200, which that's a pretty damn good deal. Especially with how much better their M390's been doing for me in the last, I don't know, year and a half or so. So that kind of also talked me into it. I do wish that finger choil was either a little bit larger or maybe non-existent. One or the other kind of things there, but those are just a little bit of nitpicks there. That front flipper sort of thing there turns into some jimping up top, which we also have a little bit more, so that's nice. This thing does not have a stop pin. Full stop. It uses the back of the titanium handle there as the stop pin for it. It doesn't have a hardened steel insert or anything like that going on there. which might end up maybe wearing it down a little bit over time. But, I've played around with this thing for quite a few months. And, yeah, I'm not really seeing any wear inside or out on that. So I don't really think it's really putting that much force in there. And it's not abrading it side to side or anything like that. So you're probably good to go with any of that stuff there. Yep, I do wish that pocket clip was different, but it is what it is. Obviously, you can't have the pocket clip mounted from the inside on an integral. I have seen one mounted from the other side of the handle, but that is not this one. I don't know what kind of schmutz I got on the back end there, but all right, well. Yeah, so let's see. Oh, last measurement I want to go over here, 0.52 of an inch thick, or 13.3 millimeters. So just a little tiny bit thicker than a paramilitary 2. But this thing is also nicely contoured, as you can see. So super nice and comfortable in the hand. It's a winner for sure. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, I did mention those couple of downsides that keep it from being one of my absolute favorite knives. But it's still pretty darn fantastic. So, blade size comparisons here. This one's not super incredibly large, so I will leave out the Endura 4. That, well, screw it. It's here. I might as well. It's just, much larger. The paramilitary 2's handle is quite a bit larger here. Let's go for the Rat 1. It's probably much closer to a Rat 2 in size, but that's okay. I don't own one of those. There we are with the K-bar folding hunter, which fairly similar proportions, but the blade's a little bit shorter on that. And with my smaller Benchmates, they probably make a little bit more sense here. There we are with the bug outs and the 940. 940 seems to have a decent amount of similarities here. This one's supposed to have a 3.4 inch blade, I thought, whereas this is 3.21. Or at least that's what Benchmade ends up quoting it as, which means they've probably measured from way back here or something funky. But there we are with that. Now, that's basically everything that I wanted to cover with it. I can take this apart. Hopefully this goes relatively smoothly. So let's find out. So we got the pivot screw here. I can pull that out, and then I will shove that in there to remove the pivot pin there. The collar came out. That's fine. I want to probably remove both of those. So there we go, and we have one of the those guys there. I probably should have opened the blade before I ended up unscrewing that, but I have done what I have done. I just want to have it pivot out, and it's just not wanting to work with me on that. I shove it forward with this. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. Like I said, this one's a little bit more difficult to end up dealing with and pulling out for doing some cleaning than some other ones are. This is all about the there we go. All about that one right there, that little bearings. That's weird. Man, I don't know what's going on with me where I just completely forget words for a minute there. But yeah, you can see when this thing is when the blade's fully out, this thing is over quite a bit. So for me, I do want to kind of bend that out a little bit. In doing that, I will have to, of course, remove the hardened steel insert because it does act as an over travel stop. In the back there, you can see that little notch there. That's where it ends up interfacing. And hopefully that will help alleviate a little bit of the more washer feeling action I won't say it's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, you definitely saw it. It's not drop shotty. But yeah, the other side of the pivot, there's a bearing race. Of course, the other bearing race is already in there. And this one is just a little bit more difficult to try to shove back in there because of the way that these ball bearings only halfway sit in the blade. So, like you saw, I got one of those bearings a little bit caught on there. I'm not going to put this back together on camera because, well, my the battery in my camera is about ready to run out. So, I will go ahead and call it there. You know, you can certainly let me know in the comments if you want to see, you know, a fairly quick video of me putting this thing back together, and I can end up making that happen. But, you know, with all that being said, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Yeah, subscribe, please.